Hi ladies. I hadn't really planned on doing this, but I've been thinking just so many things this week. Um, for those of you who don't know, I don't know if I've talked about it a whole lot, but our baby's due date would have been September 30th, and I know there are some other ladies in the group that um, due dates for babies lost are coming up, and it's just I've been kind of like dreading it and kind of just not knowing how I will take it, what I will do, like what I will feel. So I'm kind of just every day this week, just kind of memorializing this week because in my head, um, if I still had Isom, he could have been born any day this week. So I just wanted to share with you kind of um, my thoughts, just processing what I'm feeling right now, and hopefully I can just encourage you guys too who might be dealing with some of this stuff. So, I want to share with you two verses first off. The first one is Psalms 139, 14 through 18. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance being yet unformed, and in your book they all were written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. How precious also are your thoughts of me, O God! How great is the sum of them! If I should count them, they would be more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with you. Okay, so that's Psalms 139, 14 through 18. And the other one I have is Jeremiah 1, 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you, and I ordained you a prophet to the nations. So I'm reading this little book, and this is not a plug for this book at all. It just happens to be something that we're reading in church for a discipleship class. It's called You Are Valuable. And I just found it kind of ironic that this is what I'm reading this week. And these are prayers that I prayed over Isom whenever I had PPROM'd, and as many of you probably are having trouble sleeping at night if you're in the middle of PPROM. So that was me. I was bed resting as much as I could, but at night is when I would leak the most. I would freak out. I would worry. I don't even know if I slept. It didn't even feel like I slept at night. So whenever I would wake up and my mind would just be racing and my heart would be racing and I'd just have all these thoughts and worries, like these two verses were verses that I prayed over Isom pretty much every night because I could never sleep. And I would sometimes just, because it was a positive thing that I could say over him, because my thoughts often could stray to the not positive. So I wanted to speak positivity and life over him. And we actually chose the middle name Jeremiah for him, partially because we liked how that sounded, and partially I didn't really think about it till later, but it's cool how like I had prayed that verse over him, and I just, those two verses are just so important, and I just wanted to just encourage you and remind you that God has fearfully and wonderfully made you and your babies. Like, he made your body and he made your baby's body too. And he made them fearfully and wonderfully. Also, his thoughts about you and about your babies are precious. Like, he's not up there like causing you this thing and inflicting you with this because he's mad at you. His thoughts about you are precious, and his thoughts about me and about Isom are precious too. Last thing is, he made your babies for a purpose. And that one was hard for me, and is probably hard for you mamas who've lost yours. Because I think you can think like, Well, they never even got to live outside my womb. How could they even have had a purpose? But I just wanted to encourage you to think about who you became when you were pregnant with them and who you are now, after, just having carried that life in you. You're not the same person that you were. You are different because of that life that you carried. And um, so even though those little ones we didn't get to watch them grow up, but they had a purpose and are still continuing, um, in that purpose in our lives. Um, so this is kind of long winded, but I feel like I need to include it because it's along those lines of um, just purpose. So the other day I was praying in my car, like I do, over myself and for myself, and I heard this come out my mouth. So I said, um, in so many words, God, I pray that when I die, um, the earth or people in the earth feel that they are missing something, so that my absence would be felt, so that there would be um, just a missing me. And as soon as I said that, it just it didn't feel right. And I knew it immediately. Um, and so, but I just thought of, so two people. So my mom and then also Isom. So I lost my mom. It'll be 3 years in March of 2022 that I lost my mom. And she just laid a really strong foundation for me in terms of faith. I do not know who I would be, um, in terms of faith or lack thereof if it hadn't been for the influence of my mom. But the most amazing thing, um, I mean, her life was amazing. Like, she was a very unwavering person whenever it came to her convictions, with God, and just steadfastness her entire life, which is amazing in and of itself. But when she got the diagnosis of stage 4 stomach cancer that had metastasized, that doctors could do nothing about, she didn't cry about it. She didn't break down, and she didn't even use the word death. Like, she was just like, well, doctors don't have the final say, like they don't, you know, like I still think there's hope. And that was how we continued the last 2 months of her life. She said, I don't want to speak any negativity. Um, I had to coach other people not to speak death over her during the last 2 months of her life. And I mean, ultimately, yeah, she passed. Um, so there's that. But she never wavered. Like with her, like the last hours of her life, I remember her saying, "We just need to pray." And I was totally believing for a miracle for her to be healed. And I was like, God, if you heal her, I will literally tell everybody I know. I will go nowhere. I will make T-shirts that say "Ask me how my mom was healed of cancer." I actually said this and meant it. But of course, that's not my story. And but her death left me, um I mean, I did have some moments of like, God, like I just don't understand what you're doing here. Um I had some moments where like I would encounter people who would have like near death experiences who just were kind of train wreckish. I don't know, just like not giving glory to God whenever their life was spared. And I'm like, God, I'm just being honest. I was like, God, like my mom would have told everybody. She would have told everyone she knew. So like, why did you spare this guy? And in that moment, God was like, sometimes the best gift I can give that person is another day to live. And I was like, okay. But yeah, like just being human with you. But all that to say, in my mom's death, um, I know it affected me. Like, I didn't come away from it with like God, I don't know who you are. Like, you didn't answer my prayer. That wasn't my story either. Like, it drew me closer to him. And then with Isom, with my little baby, he only got to live 19 weeks in the womb. But he changed me with his life. He changed me with just the amount of time that I carried him. And then with his death, like, I don't know why God took him. I don't. I really like what one of the ladies in our group said, and this is probably not a popular opinion, but she said that, because she also experienced PPROM, and she said that she always thought that if they wouldn't choose God, that God chose them. And so, I mean, like, I know God is good, so I have to believe that his reason for taking Isom was just the ultimate mercy that he could have offered him. And I trust him in that. But in Isom's death, it has changed me. Like, it has left me, like, I've had to dig to understand who God is. And I've had thoughts and, like, just revelations that it didn't solidify. I didn't get it before. And I don't get it perfectly now, but just having to confront these things, like, you either confront them and deal with them, or you just kind of are unsettled about them in your mind and don't decide what you think about them and keep going through life. And then there's just that thing that's just unsettled. So I think that's one of the mercies that he's granted to me through all this. A mercy I didn't ask for, but just teaching me these things through the death of my child. Like, my baby's okay. I know where he is. Like, I know I'll see him again. So yeah. But after that, my prayer became that I want my life to have meaning in God's kingdom, but also let my death leave those alive with a greater hunger for relationship with Jesus and a desire to live this life for things eternal. So that's what God is doing in me, and hopefully eventually through me, through this heartache. Another thing is just, again, being honest here. You know, if I got the chance to choose between having my baby in my arms and starting the PPROM Prayer Sisters group because of the loss of my child, I would have chosen to have my child in my arms. I don't think there's any one of us who would have chosen differently. But that's not how this all worked out. So I fully believe that part of God's redeeming all this bad for something good in my life is by giving me you ladies to care for and to pray for, and to hopefully encourage in your journey. And I just I hope and pray that that's happening. And I just want you to know that for one thing, I'm a very, very human person, so don't ever think that I've got it all together, because I definitely don't. So just wanted to share that with you tonight, and I just hope that you guys have a good evening, and I'll talk to you later.